It's good to be home. Karen and I are so happy to be in church with you today. And it's good to come home and see all you guys and get to do one of the things I love to do most, and that's preach. So our message this morning is in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. You found me a boat picture. So I told them I wanted boats up there. That's a picture of our dock. Not only. 1 Corinthians 10:31. It's a simple little verse tucked away in a little book in the Bible. And it just simply says, whether you're eating or drinking or whatever you do it to the glory of God. Now, I'm here to tell you that I've got the eating and drinking part down. I do that to the glory of God every day that I can. But it's that everything you do part that I want to challenge us with this morning. Karen and I, we really enjoy watching this particular television show, which showcases some very talented people from diverse backgrounds and skills. And the ultimate goal is to win the votes of the judges and then to win the votes of all America to be proclaimed as the person with the greatest talent. And every year there's a new winner. And I'm always amazed at all of the amazing talent that gets cut. There's people that can do some incredible things that never make it to the final round. And people that I think are very talented. And I disagree with America, and I disagree with the judges, and I think they should win. But they don't. And we seem to have entered into a phase of culture in our world where we celebrate what is perceived to be the very best at that particular time. And I had this insight a few months ago as I was watching one of the episodes and thinking, there's a reason that I've never entered one of these contests. I've never entered because I'd never win. I'm not good enough. There's things that I can do that are pretty cool, but I'm not that good. And so, since I have convinced myself that I would never win, I've never entered. And I wonder, as I kind of began to think about this, and I looked through some of the TV guide type things that are out there. So whether you're streaming or you're watching TV live, you know that there's a lot of these kind of shows out there. You can have, the best singers, the best dancers, the best ninja warriors, another one that I'll never enter, the best guys restoring cars, and I saw one a few months ago for blacksmiths that are forging the best knives. I mean, there is a show celebrating the best of whatever talent you can imagine that's out there. Let's find out who's the greatest and let's give them a prize. Because in our culture, we celebrate the perfect, we celebrate the extraordinary, we celebrate the amazing. And we like to throw fame onto these people because they're the best, they're the greatest. But fame is fleeting, and fame actively seeks to avoid people that are looking for it. How many times do you sit down and you're in a doctor's office and you grab a magazine and you're flipping through social media and you come across these stories of, where are they now? And so you read that story, and unfortunately a lot of times those stories end up in a very sad way. Because fame is not your best friend. Fame is not your lover. Fame is not your spouse. Fame really doesn't care about you. It's very, very fleeting. And I actually had a brief moment of fame. It was a lie, and I'm a little bit embarrassed by it, but I had my moment. I was in Los Angeles several years ago with one of my project management teams, and we had finished working on some very difficult technical issues, and I decided I want to take everybody out to dinner. And so we went to this very popular restaurant in that part of Los Angeles, and we're there, and it's a beautiful evening, as it never rains in sunny Southern California, and it was just an incredible time. The food was good, we had fun around the table, and they had this balcony, and so I decided I'm going to go take a walk out on the balcony. We're like 4 stories up, and I'm going to have a look at the city lights and just breathe So this is beautiful. And so I did that, and I turned around and I started to come back into the restaurant. And as I got close to the door, there was a young couple that was getting ready to leave as well. And as I turned to go into the door, the guy got this big smile on his face and his eyes lit up, and he goes, "You're that guy! That guy on that TV show that I really like. I can't remember your name, but you're that guy." God help me. Forgive me. I looked him right in the eye and I said, "Yeah." and I go, "Please be quiet. I don't want people to know I'm here. I'm just trying to have a nice quiet evening out." And he goes, "Oh, but I love your show. You're so good." And I go, "Well, thank you. I appreciate that." And he's like, "Can I have your autograph?" And I go, "God forgive me." I said, "Sure." Be happy to. So I reach over and I grab a napkin and I scrawl my name out on the napkin. And he goes, "Oh God, I just love your show so much. You're the greatest." And I said, "Well, I really appreciate your support. I appreciate you watching the show. It's nice to know I've got people out there that enjoy what I'm doing. But please just keep it really quiet. Don't tell anybody that I'm here. I just want to enjoy my time with my friends." And he's like, "Okay." And I turned around and I walked away just feeling terrible. And he's walking away with a big smile on his face and his girlfriend's hugging his arms going, "Oh, that was cool." And I'm like, "Oh, God help me." I'm a horrible person. Because, I'm not that guy and I'm not on that show. And I was never that person. And I realized as I walked away that, this is what fame feels like. No wonder people chase after fame. This feels kind of good. But you know what? I realized also that it was kind of fake. Because, I was just a nobody. I was thought to be somebody by anybody, but it still didn't make me a somebody. It was nothing. And, I have had a long talk with God and asked him to forgive me. And, but I still find that just so funny. And it's California, I guess, And so I was visiting a few weeks ago with a pastor, and we were talking about God's sense of humor when it comes to choosing people that are going to, do something for God, right? Who's going to be God's leader this week, or who's going to do this for God, or who's going to do that for God? Who's God going to choose for this? And as you look through history, you find that God does have a bit of a sense of humor about that, because as you read through the Bibles, you find murderers, you find cheats, you find tax collectors, you find inquisitors, you find adulterers, and you find this sad group of people that we know of, as Moses and Isaac and Matthew and Paul and David and on it goes, as people that we consider to be the greats within the church and the greats within biblical history, and people that we never would have chosen. But God chose them. And so we kind of let the discussion go. It says, well, okay, so if you're a young person and you're wanting to prepare yourself to be qualified for God's call, how do you do that? Or if you're an older person in transition in their life and you decided you want to spend the rest of your life doing something in God's service, how do you make yourself ready for that? How do you do that? And he kicks back in the chair and he says, "God qualifies the called. God does not call the qualified." And I thought, wow. I never expected that from this guy. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, so God looks at you and he says, you're okay. I like your heart. I like what you're doing. I like where you're going. I like what you stand for. I'm going to qualify you. Instead of looking around through a congregation or through a community or through a country and saying, I wonder if there's anybody out there that's qualified. Who can I call? I need to find the right person who's got all the qualities. Now, corporate America would never embrace this kind of a philosophy. You as a boss would probably never embrace this kind of a philosophy because you want to hire the people that are qualified. But God says, give me somebody that's doing their best. Give me somebody that's got their heart in it. Give me somebody that doesn't care whether or not they fail, and I'll qualify them for the call. And that's a totally different perspective of what we're used to looking at, because all we are concerned about is who is the greatest, who is the best, who's the most talented. So here's the thought. In heaven, there's no fame. In heaven, there are no heroes. In heaven, there are no greatest talent winners. Because heaven is filled with people who have done their best for the glory of God. The streets of gold are paraded upon by every person from around the world that in all of history that has just done their best for the glory of God. Amen. And that's exciting, because that means there might be some room for me. There's a woman that was a soul and blues singer. You may have heard of her, Ethel Waters, from back in the 50s and 60s. And she related a story that she was in New York City and was on the radio for an interview. And she was near Madison Garden, and she had sang at Madison Garden on a couple of occasions. And the interviewer asked her about this young upstart preacher that was holding a crusade over at Madison Garden, and he was just kind of new to the scene, if you will, and beginning to get a little famous. And so the radio interviewer said, "So what do you think about this Reverend Billy Graham guy that's got this crusade going on? You think he's going to do okay?" And she told the interviewer, she says, "Well, I think he'll do just fine, because God don't sponsor no flops." Well, one of the media directors for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association heard that interview and thought, "Well, that's pretty cool." I don't think he said that's pretty cool. I predated that day, so whatever they would say back then, that was okay. So he sent a note to Miss Waters, and he sent her some tickets and said, "Come to the Billy Graham crusade." So she did. And as she sat there that night and she listened to Reverend Graham preach, her heart was tugged by the message. And as Billy Graham gave the call to come forward and give your life to Christ, Ethel Waters made that walk down to the front. She prayed the prayer and she gave her life to Christ. And from there, over the next 20, 30 years, she became a frequent and very popular singer in the Billy Graham Crusade events that occurred around the world. Because she embraced the fact that God don't sponsor no flops. And I find a lot of encouragement in that. As you know, earlier I said that I never entered any of these talent shows because I'm not good enough to win. And I know that. I really am not. And it's not, that I'm weak, or that I don't have enough esteem, or that I don't have enough, good old North American gumption to get up and go. I know that I would never win. But does that mean then that because I can't win, that I should just sit down on this little chair and do nothing? And see, this is the part that concerns me in our celebration of the winners, the greatest and the bestest, is that oftentimes we're tempted to look at those folks and say, I can never be like them. I can never do what they do. I can try, but I'll never get there. And it's okay that I'm never going to get there unless I just sit back and say, well, if I can't be the best, I'm not doing anything. Hello. If I can't be the winner, then why even try? Why don't I should just not do anything. But God says to us, I want you to do your best. He never declared to us, it is my command to you that you be the best. It is my command to you that every one of you be winners. But what he says, my command to you, is that you do your best. And whatever you do it to my glory. That's an entirely different perspective in life, especially those of us here in North America, because we're taught to believe that, everybody can grow up and be president, and if you just try hard enough, you will be the best, and you will be the winner, and everybody's got to be the winner of everything. And unfortunately, I'm going to break your bubble, because I'm going to tell you, not everybody's going to win everything. But you can do your best. You can do your best. And God says, if you will do your best, and you will do it to my glory, that's good enough. There's a woman that I read about recently, an elderly woman in a nursing home up in New Hampshire, that someone taught her how to knit plastic bags into things. And she thought that was pretty cool. And she thought, well, okay, this is nice, but what can I do with this? And she read an article about a homeless person that was in the hospital with pneumonia because they had slept on a wet sidewalk or a bench and they got sick. And so she thought, plastic bags are waterproof. How about if I start knitting mats out of used disposable plastic grocery bags that I can give to the homeless, and they'll have something to sleep on that'll keep them out of the water. So that's what she started doing. And pretty soon, other people in the nursing home said, hey, that's nice. Can we join you? And so start a little knitting club, making those. And you know that there are groups around the nation right now in nursing homes all over the place that are knitting mats out of disposable plastic bags to give to the homeless people so that they can be protected from sleeping on a wet sidewalk. You're never going to hear of her. You're never going to hear her name. She's never going to be on any TV special. She's not going to sign any autographs. But she's doing her best right there in the nursing home and encouraging other people to join her, and she's doing her best. And God is getting glory out of what she's doing. I had a neighbor that I was speaking to a few weeks ago, and she told me about her dad, who was a Methodist, I believe, Methodist minister in a little town in Texas. And, you know, small town guy, small town church, small town. You're never going to hear of this guy. But back in the, I guess it would be in the early 50s, you know, Hungary was a place there was a lot of conflict between Hungary and the Soviet Union, and there were folks that were coming over and trying to escape what was going on there politically. And she said her dad understood that there was a family from Hungary that had come over into this small town in Texas and was having a really difficult time transitioning and settling as refugees. And so he just decided one day over coffee to invite a couple of minister friends, and they sat down and talked about it and said, what can we do to help? And before it was over with, over the next several years, they helped resettle and assimilate over 80 Hungarian families in that community. It's great. And you'll never hear about this guy. He's not the greatest influencer in the world. He doesn't have an Instagram site, nothing on Facebook, but he did his best. He took a group of people that joined with him, and he did his best, and he made a huge impact on 80 families. I have a friend that I worked with when I was in the insurance industry. His name is Stan Hayes. And Stan's a pretty cool guy. And I always enjoyed working with him. I can't say that he's like a dear friend, but you know, we're acquaintances. And Stan is from Missouri, and Stan likes to barbecue. In fact, he likes to barbecue so much that he entered into competition, and he won some trophies. And he's not a national grand champion barbecue guy. He's never won the world's greatest barbecue, but he's won a few trophies. He cooks some good barbecue, and he loves cooking barbecue. And there was a little tornado up in Joplin a few years ago, and Stan, being from Missouri and being an insurance guy, he knew exactly how bad it was there. And so one night he thought, well, those probably people need something to eat. I don't have to cook barbecue. I'll bet they'd like some barbecue. I'm going to go down there and feed some folks some barbecue. So he loaded up his little competition barbecue thing on his trailer, called some friends, said, hey, let's go down there and make some barbecue. And so they did, and they ended up staying for 3 weeks. And they fed over 10,000 people barbecue. And he thought, oh, well, that was fun. And about 4 weeks later, there was another little catastrophe somewhere. And he thought, I wonder if they want some barbecue. So he loaded up, called his friends. They went out, they fed out some more barbecue. And he's been doing that ever since. About 3 years ago, he quit his job with the insurance company. He's now the CEO of an organization called Operation Barbecue Relief. And they have just, I think 2 weeks ago, fed their 1 millionth meal free meal to people that are in catastrophe situations. And now they're opening up and going into poor school districts and feeding barbecue to school kids. They just opened up their first international thing where they're actually cooking barbecue in Fort Lauderdale. And he has a buddy that restored an old World War II plane, and if you're into that, you may have heard of it, called Miss Montana. And that plane is now flying from Fort Lauderdale over to the Bahamas and carrying about, I think, 5,000 meals a day over to the Bahamas. Because, you know, they like barbecue over there too, right? And so, but Stan is just like, hey, I just like cooking barbecue. And that's something I can do. I'm not the greatest. I'm not a world champion, but I cook barbecue. So let's get some friends together. Let's cook some barbecue. And let's help some people. I'm going to do my best because that's what God would want me to do. Make some barbecue. So the thing is we continually start, we are just like programmed that we've got to be the best. But God says, just do your best. Just do your best. And do it to my glory. There was the hymn that we sang this morning, and in the chorus, and several times, the refrain was that in this room there is enough. And I had to embrace that this morning in the first service, because that's really what this is all about. Because in this room, right here, there is enough to make a positive impact for God's kingdom in Harrison. In this room, there is enough to make a positive impact for God's kingdom in the state of Arkansas. In this room, I dare say, there is enough to make a positive impact for God's kingdom in this world. There's enough if you and I will just do our best. So what if you're not the greatest? So what if you don't win the competitions and be proclaimed number one? So what if you even fail? Because small cracks in our life don't mean that we're broken. It just means that we've been put to the test and we didn't fall apart. Do your best as if to God, because God don't sponsor no flops. Father, we're grateful that we can be in your service even if we're just plain old ordinary folk. We're grateful that when you call us, you give us the qualities that we need. And we are grateful that when you look at us, you're not ashamed to call us your children. And I pray this morning that as we prepare to leave this place, that we will embrace that we can do enough and be enough as long as we just do our best. And as long as we do it to the glory of God. Amen. This is where I get confused. I'm sorry, you've changed things. And, yeah, so we